I'm Professor Darius. Welcome to African Elements, where we explore the depth and diversity of Black history, culture, and social justice issues. If you appreciate the work we do and want to help us continue to bring important stories and perspectives to light, please consider supporting us on Patreon, sending a super thanks, or subscribing to our channel. In this video, we explore how African American families have endured against all odds. Let's jump in. The African American family has a long, complex history marked by resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. Through the years, various laws and policies have actively constrained the growth and development of Black families. From the institution of slavery to Jim Crow segregation to the current era of mass incarceration, African American families have adapted and evolved to confront obstacles to their survival and flourishing. In examining the values that have guided African American families through these challenges, it becomes clear that solid kinship bonds have always been a cornerstone. Kinship structures refer to the social relationships and connections between family members, both biological and non biological. Often, these kinship structures were extended, meaning they included not only immediate family members, but extended family members, such as grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. These extended family members played an essential role in providing emotional and economic support to the family unit, especially during times of hardship and adversity. African American families often formed kinship through blood ties, adoption, or informal arrangements. They were central to the survival and resilience of Black families throughout history. African American families have always valued strong kinship bonds, even during the era of slavery. The institution of slavery systematically disrupted African American families, forcing enslaved people to live under brutal conditions and endure the trauma of being separated from their loved ones. Despite these challenges, enslaved people could form families and create kinship structures that allowed them to survive and thrive under challenging circumstances. Even with the abolition of slavery, new challenges emerged that threatened the well-being of the Black family. As a result, many African American families continued to rely on extended family kinship structures in post-Civil War America to provide support and security in a society that was hostile to their aspirations. One such hostile system was the apprenticeship system. The apprenticeship system, a practice that emerged following the Civil War, saw many African American children taken away from their families and placed into forced labor arrangements. Often disguised as education or training programs, these arrangements were a form of indentured servitude that allowed white employers to exploit the labor of African American children. Apprenticeship was particularly damaging to African American families, disrupting kinship networks and creating economic and emotional stress. Children were taken away from their parents and placed with white employers, often far from their homes, making it difficult for families to maintain contact with and support each other. It also made it harder for parents to protect their children from abuse and exploitation. African American families vigorously resisted apprenticeship and fought to protect their children's rights. They formed community organizations and worked with sympathetic white allies to challenge the system in court and in the public sphere. Over time, their efforts paid off, leading to the eventual abolition of the apprenticeship system. However, in a striking parallel, the modern foster care system echoes the troubling legacy of apprenticeship. The foster care system disproportionately impacts African American children due to systemic poverty, housing instability, and inadequate access to resources. Foster care, which often separates children from their families for extended periods, can disrupt family bonds and lead to poorer outcomes in education, mental health, and future stability for these children. The foster care system has been criticized for being racially biased, as African American children are more likely to be removed from their homes and placed in foster care than white children. In addition to the challenges posed by the foster care system, the evolution of welfare policies has also had a significant impact on African American families. Founded in 1935, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, or AFDC, provided financial assistance to low-income families with children. The Fleming Rule, established in 1960, required states to include children of unemployed parents in AFDC, thus expanding its reach to more African American families. Under the Clinton administration in 1996, the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act replaced AFDC with Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF, which included stricter work requirements and time limits. Perhaps not coincidentally, the welfare queen stereotype emerged during the period between the Fleming Rule, which expanded African American families' access to welfare benefits, and the punitive policies of the 1996 welfare reform measures. The welfare queen was a derogatory term to describe African American women who allegedly abused the welfare system, perpetuated negative misconceptions, and further stigmatized recipients. It's important to note that as government assistance to children and families became more associated with people of color, the welfare policies have become more punitive and stigmatizing. Critics of welfare policies have pointed out the various ways the system contributes to the destruction of black families. Some argue that these policies create disincentives for family stability and self-sufficiency. Some criticisms of welfare policies include financial disincentives for marriage. Some welfare programs, such as temporary assistance for needy families, consider households' total income when determining eligibility. Income consideration can create a disincentive for marriage, as combining incomes may result in the loss of benefits. Critics argue that this discourages the formation and stability of two-parent households in the African American community, as couples may choose to remain unmarried to maintain their eligibility for benefits. The welfare trap is a term used to describe a situation where individuals or families become reliant on welfare benefits, making it difficult for them to break free from poverty and achieve self-sufficiency. Critics argue that some welfare policies create dependency by offering few incentives or opportunities for recipients to gain skills and education, while creating a disincentive to seek employment income for fear of losing benefits. Welfare policies have often perpetuated negative stereotypes of African American families, particularly the aforementioned welfare queen stereotype. This image of a single black mother who abuses the welfare system to live a life of leisure has been widely debunked, but continues to influence public opinion and policymaking. Such stereotypes stigmatize African American families who receive welfare assistance and may further isolate them from social and economic opportunities. Studies have shown that racial bias can influence the implementation of welfare policies, with African American families more likely to be treated unfairly or harshly by caseworkers and other officials. Implicit bias can lead to increased surveillance of black families, harsher penalties for noncompliance, and an overall negative experience for those seeking assistance. The separation of black families disrupts their support structures while perpetuating cycles of trauma and disadvantage. Nevertheless, the devastating effects of systemic racism on African American families extended beyond the realm of welfare policies. The war on drugs and the ensuing era of mass incarceration ushered in many other forms of physical separation that have also plagued black communities. The war on drugs, which began in the 1970s, disproportionately targeted African American communities, resulting in higher arrest rates, incarceration, and family separation. Mass incarceration has left many children without their parents, leading to increased poverty rates and emotional trauma. As a result, African American families continue to face significant challenges in the contemporary era, particularly in the realm of criminal justice. The United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world, and African American men are disproportionately represented in the prison population. In addition to the criminalization of black bodies and the dehumanization of African American men, mass incarceration has profoundly impacted African American families. The removal of fathers and sons from the household for extended periods has resulted in the disruption of family dynamics and economic instability. Policies that impact black families are present at all phases of family formation. In the realm of education, the school-to-prison pipeline has become a significant issue in many communities. The school-to-prison pipeline refers to the tendency to funnel children out of public schools and into the juvenile and criminal justice systems. African American children are disproportionately represented in this pipeline, as they tend to be adultified more often than their white counterparts. Adultification is the inclination to treat children, particularly African American girls, as if they are older than they are. Adultification can lead to harsher school punishments and increased contact with the juvenile justice system. As a result, they're more likely to be disciplined harshly and suspended from school than their white counterparts, having lasting effects on their educational and familial outcomes. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 introduced several measures that contributed to the school-to-prison pipeline, including funding more police in schools and expanding zero-tolerance policies. Such policies disproportionately affect African American students, increasing their chances of entering the juvenile justice system. African American families have a complex and resilient history that reflects the challenges and triumphs of Black Americans in the United States. Despite the ongoing challenges of racism, economic inequality, and systemic oppression, African American families continue to adapt and evolve in ways that reflect their cultural values and commitment to creating a better future for their children. By better understanding the impact of various laws, policies, and social issues on Black families, we can work towards creating a more just and equitable society for all. I'm Professor Darius. As always, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to the history makers over on Patreon for being part of our mission to educate and empower through African American history and social justice issues. You can join them for as little as $1 a month and gain early access to ad-free content. Or you can support African Elements for free just by dropping a like, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in the comments.